we're going to talk about how you can go from 0% to 100% like I did in under 2 years. If you've been with me and watched to the end, you've seen that soldier wave at each and every video at closing. That soldier is me, Lisa. And I'd like to share with you some of my journey and much of my thoughts about how I went from 10% to 100% in under 2 years, and how you can possibly too. While today's content will be educational and somewhat entertaining, it will also be a high-level overview. It serves to make you think and inspire those of you who are either beginning or are weary of what I like to akin to a 10-mile rucksack road march with about 50 pounds on of gear in the rain, in order for you to get the benefits that you deserve. By the time you and I go to the end of this video, if I've inspired you and you want more content like this, come back again and let me know. It's just that easy, because it doesn't matter how long you've been out of the service. It doesn't matter if you currently have a 0% rating. It doesn't matter if you've been previously reduced or denied. And it doesn't matter if you have a library of medical records. By the end, I'll tell you what does matter. So stay a while. I saw a veteran a few months ago, a water softener technician, a Marine who was doing what veterans do, talking about his military days and his experiences. As many do, he demonstrated to my husband how he could no longer fully extend his arm as a consequence of an accident that he had while he was in service. When asked if he had a rating, he responded, "No, that's not what kind of guy I am. It's too much like a handout." Now, those might not have been his exact words, but I've heard them so many times, that's the gist of it. It's not for me. About this same time, I ran across another veteran, an Army veteran, someone whom I've known since he was a child, and he's several years younger than myself. And we did remain in contact. But upon his discharge, he was rated 10% for hearing loss. But just to keep it simple, he worked in artillery, he was a field soldier, and after 3 years, he received a discharge. Now, as a newly discharged young adult, he did what most do. Of course, he celebrated his freedom. He did not follow through with the necessary appointments and forms that were required of him through the VA in order to maintain his hearing. It was, after all, whoop-de-doo, less than $100. What did the VA do? They dropped him like a hot potato with a form letter down to 0%, which he probably threw it away and went about living his best life. He threw it away, probably, and singing the song, the VA gave me the runaround. Zip-de-doo-da-day. And then there's me. That hat-cocked soldier came out of the service at 0%, if you've ever heard of such a thing. A 0% rating is still important because it can help the VA prioritize programs for you, and it also provides at least a baseline for the VA to use when considering you for a higher rating, should you inquire later on in life and your symptoms worsen. But as with the childhood friend and but unlike the young Marine at the water softener, at least for now, we or someone in our lives recognize that life catches up with us all. While sitting on 0%, my friend's hearing had faded. He'd felt dizzy often, of course, a ringing in the ears, and debilitating migraines, which I understood too well. The difference was I am now 100%, and I receive all of my prescriptions for everything, most importantly for my migraines, through the VA pharmacy. So there I was, sitting across the table from him and his wife, now 15 years later, and we did, just as I said, what all veterans do. We talked about the good old days and our injuries. And I said, as I do, I can help you with that. To which his wife readily responded and said, when can we start? And we did, just that very next day. His wife knew very well what her husband was suffering with, and she was not too proud to seek the necessary insurances and funds that would be needed to carry them comfortably for years to come. Were it not for having received that initial 0% rating and the course of time that comes through wisdom, neither I nor my childhood friend would have the recognition deserved and the rightful compensation we have today. Irrespective if you remain stateside throughout your career, or if you've never been to combat, or you only did one tour, or you only went to the doctors 3 or 4 times, you've earned your benefits. Please pursue them. You may be able to get VA disability benefits for conditions such as back and neck pain, breathing problems resulting from toxins you've been exposed to, mold, fire pits, hearing loss, ringing in the ears, scar tissue or visual impairments, a loss of range of motion from anywhere from the bottom of your feet to the top of your head, digestive problems, allergies, anxiety, depression, and military sexual trauma, chronic pain, or a sexual dysfunction. In my friend's case, we, and when I say we, I mean his wife and I, initiated his claim toward the end of last summer, and I'm talking just a few months ago, 2021. It took approximately 4 months from beginning to end, where we submitted all the necessary paperwork for review and the exam, and then the exams were completed, and he received a 50% rating. Now let me see if I can say this right. His 50% rating was secondary to what he had a 0% service rating was, which was the same rating that he had 10% with that was reduced. Now, when he received the 50% rating, the 0% rating was not increased to 10%. So what I'm saying is that his secondary, for which he now has a 50% rating, was not contingent upon the percentage of rating that he had for his primary. I hope that makes sense. And he still has 3 disabilities for which we put a claim in that are currently deferred. In my case, I went from 0% to 100% over the course of 15 years. Yet the greatest portion of my increase occurred in a period of 2 years. As I said, when I went from 10% to 100%. Now, what happened during those 2 years that didn't happen between 0% and 10% was who I surrounded myself with. Now, back then, I worked as a veteran representative, so I know a whole lot of veterans, and most of them either meant to apply or were angry about their treatment with the VA or while they was in the military. And much like my childhood friend, I used a VSO and I received 10%. And I felt the same whoop-de-doo, less than $100 a month, I thought. And I too languished in VA hater banter for a decade. But then I met my husband, a retired Air Force veteran, and his friends and his relatives that he had amassed over his career. They enjoyed dominoes together, rowdy trips, long vacations, bonding conversations about a multitude of topics, mainly sports, as well as the joys and pains of being in the service, with a greater depth and pride. They spoke with a voice of having been recognized and respected, and that's something I had not been hearing. Each one was rated 100%. And each one were still pursuing more. Until then, I didn't even know there was an ability to apply for a greater than 100% rating. I thought, as many still do, that a 100 disabled veteran was reserved for the most heroic and debilitated veterans. This is not the case, which reminds me of a story. Yes, here we go again. I want you to watch this video where I tell you the story about a millionaire and light bulbs. But right now, I'm going to tell you the story about the millionaire in just a minute. Then go and listen to one about the 20-watt bulbs. Because even though we're talking about your disability rating, this channel, Easy Federal Resume, is about the more. It's about getting it all that you deserve as a smart person. You're a veteran. Your disability claim is just one part of a lifelong picture towards your financial freedom, career stability, better physical and mental health. By you not pursuing your benefits, you're cutting off access to potential financial income, medical support, and your family as well, not just you. You're cutting off opportunities for self-improvement through education and employment. It doesn't matter how long you have been out of the service. Not pursuing your benefits is just, I'm sorry, dumb. And I don't have an acronym for that. So here's the story. There was a man who was a millionaire who entered into a room with a billionaire. Of course, he asked, Tell me, what is the one attribute that helped your success to become a billionaire? Now, hopefully you've heard this story before. The billionaire responded with the question, tell me who your friends are. The millionaire responded by saying, my friends are just like me. They're millionaires. The billionaire said, that's your problem. You're surrounding yourself with what you are instead of what you want to become. VA benefits are not a limited resource. If you don't use the benefits you've earned, they don't go to another veteran instead. And if you think you can trick the VA into giving you your benefits, you're wrong there too. That's a fool's circle, and it's small thinking. Within days of meeting my fiance's band of 100ers, I like to call them, I got started. It took not even 2 years for me to get smart. Get my SMART degree at Veteran Uni Versity Me. That's a good one. I read through my primary and secondary conditions, not only in the 38 CFR book, C, Schedule Rating for Rating Disabilities. I also read peer-reviewed medical journals as well. Once I zeroed in on my conditions, I read case laws of other veterans who had either had their claims denied or appealed or who were granted or when deferred. I read it all. And I talked to his circle of friends, not mine. I had binders and tablets and notes for every medical sheet that I had. I scanned it in and then blew it up. If this were an iPad, I blew it up and I read that physician or nurse's writing, and then I made it plain. I wrote on top of it in English what exactly they were saying. And then I looked it up in the medical dictionary in order to identify what was primary and what was secondary. I specifically looked for symptoms and secondary conditions. I turned what was for me just 12 pages of medical documentation into 20 claims. Yes, 12 pages. Conditions and claims that the VA knew were there, but they nor I or the VSO, who I acquired the 10% through, were desirous to help me with until my friends changed. From 0 to 10%, that was the past. It was a wash. But from 10% to 100%, everything changed. What I watched changed. What I read changed. Who I talked changed. And I went from 30 to 50, from 50 to 70, from 70 to 90, and the rest is history. And those veterans whose circle I invaded grew by adding me, its newest member. We are all 100%ers with federal jobs and most with military retirement pay as well. So now, 5 years into my 100% life and a new marriage and having helped dozens of veterans do the same, I ran across that Marine at the water softener installer, and I asked him to make a choice to step outside of his comfort zone and make a new friend. He chose to remain stiff, physically and mentally, as well as financially. I'm sorry, as I said, dumb. I left him there, installing a water softener for what was to be our custom home, being built for our early retirement. It doesn't matter how long you've been out of the service. I covered that. It doesn't matter if you currently have a 0% rating. I've covered that. It doesn't matter if you've been previously reduced. I've covered that. It doesn't matter if you have a library of medical records. I've covered that. What matters is what and who you know. Now, I'm not talking about the federal government right now, because there it doesn't matter. But who you know in regards to who's giving you the right information does matter. While I'm a doctoral student, as you know, I'm not an MD. I'm not telling you what to do medically. I'm telling you what to do intellectually. Read, study, but first simply apply and get that intent started. You have 1 year to enroll yourself in Veteran U. I don't remember what I called it just a minute ago. Let me rewind. Now you know me. If this video has been an inspiration and somewhat entertaining, please leave a like and a comment. Let me know how I can be of support to you or what struggles you might have. Because Easy Federal Resume, there is always more content to come. Bye-bye.